In this video, we're going to talk about how to conduct a great performance review when you are a manager or a leader. There are 3 stages I'm going to cover in this video: how to prepare for a performance review, how to conduct a performance review, and how to follow up after a performance review. We have a lot of content to cover in this video, so let's get straight to it. Before we get into the main content for this video, I do want to address the question, what is the purpose of a performance review? Because when you understand the purpose of a performance review, you're able to conduct it with a lot more structure and in a much more purposeful way. So performance reviews allow you to understand and improve an employee's performance, motivation, and goals. In doing that, you can develop each individual toward their greatest potential and drive the entire team towards the team's goals. Performance reviews are a critical part of your job as a manager and leader. You'll be required to conduct them on a fairly regular basis, so you need to know how to do them well. The first part happens in the lead up to the performance review. You need to review your past performance review notes that you've taken, and you need to get familiar with things you've written down, such as action items, objectives, and expectations of that particular employee. I want you to compile your notes about what has happened since the last performance review and think about things like what they're doing that's working, what they're doing that's not working, skills or behavior they need to develop to improve. We will talk more about these questions in the next section of this video, how to conduct a performance review. But for now, what I want you to do is to just jot down some notes that you want to bring up, some key talking points that you want to bring up in the performance review that revolve around these areas. Once you've reviewed your performance review notes and you've compiled a list of key talking points that you want to discuss, then I want you to ask the employee that you're going to meet for the performance review to list things that they're proud of. So think of accomplishments, think of clients won, skills they have built, challenges they have overcome. It could be a number of different things that they come up with, but I want you to ask that employee to make a list themselves of things that they are proud of that have happened since their previous performance review. This process will not only help that particular employee feel more confident and a lot more calm about going into the performance review, but it will also help you identify things that you might have missed over the past year or since the last performance review, things you may have overlooked. The employee doesn't need to give you their answers before the performance review, but they should take their notes with them into the performance review because you're probably going to ask them about it. Once you have all of this information, then you need to create an agenda for the performance review meeting. A typical agenda will follow this structure: casual chit chat, 2 minutes, review the agenda, 3 minutes, how much the employee has grown since the last performance review, 5 minutes, current performance, 15 minutes, areas for improvement or training needs, 10 minutes, career plans, 10 minutes, targets, goals, actionables for the next performance review, 10 minutes. I recommend that you send this agenda to the employee you're going to be meeting about 24 hours before the performance review. This will give them an idea of what to expect for the performance review and help them to be a lot less stressed about it. And just in case you're wondering, the average time for a performance review is generally about 60 minutes. I will put this sample agenda in the description below so you can simply copy it and paste it into a Word document when you're creating your own agenda. Once you have carefully prepared for your performance review, then you need to conduct it. Now, there is no need for you to be scared or nervous about conducting the performance review. Believe me, your employee will be a lot more nervous and a lot more scared than you will be. If you follow your agenda carefully, then you'll be able to conduct the performance review with confidence. Before we get into talking about what exactly you should say in the performance review, I do want to mention a couple of really important things. First, you need to be honest when you are communicating in your performance review, whether it's good feedback you're giving or bad feedback that you're giving your employee. You need to be honest about it. If it's good feedback you're giving and you're honest about it, that person will be genuinely happy and pleased about the work that they have produced for you. If it's bad feedback that you're giving them, then at least they'll walk away with a clear idea of what they did wrong and what they need to improve on. A lot of people are reluctant to give honest feedback, especially when it comes to negative feedback. But you're not going to do that person any favors by hiding or by sugarcoating their deficiencies. The second thing I want to highlight is you need to be specific with your feedback. Whether it's good feedback or bad feedback, you need to be specific about what that person did or didn't do or should have done instead. This will help them walk away with a clear message about what they need to improve on, and it will help you as a manager or a leader address their deficiencies a lot faster. So once you have the right mindset going into the performance review, knowing you have to be honest, knowing you have to be specific, then you need to conduct the performance review. And for this, you simply follow the agenda that you have already created. So you start with casual chit chat. You basically ask that person how their week has been so far. Then you review the agenda, so both of you are clear about what you're going to be talking about during this performance review. You don't need to spend too much time on either of these elements of the performance review. Most of the content, the bulk of the performance review is really going to be about their performance. Once you've discussed number 1 and number 2, then the third thing you need to talk about is how that person has grown since the last performance review. This starts the performance review on a really positive note. I'm sure you as a manager or leader can identify a number of areas in which that person has grown since their last performance review. If you think of their accomplishments, if you think of the projects they have been working on, clients they have won, skills they have developed, or challenges they have overcome, things that you have witnessed and identified that you can talk about as a positive aspect of their development. This is a great time for you to ask the employee, what did they write down when you ask them to list things they are proud of since the last performance review. This is a great way to get that particular employee relaxed, to get them feeling a lot more positive and a lot more comfortable about the performance review. And it will also ease you into the next step, where you talk about their current performance. And when looking at their current performance, there are specifically 2 questions that you need to ask yourself or discuss with them. You need to look at what they're doing that is working and what they are doing that is not working. You've likely already been thinking about these 2 questions yourself because we did discuss them in the preparation stage of the performance review, but now you need to actually ask your employee about them. In the preparation stage, you were thinking to yourself about what was working and what was not working. Now you need to discuss this with your employee because they might have a different perspective on these things. You can share your evaluation or your opinions on what you think they are doing that is working, what you think they are doing that is not working. Get them to respond, ask them to discuss, and try to encourage them into a discussion with you about these 2 issues. You can also ask them what is their opinion on what they're doing that's working, what they're doing that's not working. Because like I mentioned, they might give you a different perspective. They might even mention things that you were completely unaware of. I really want to emphasize here that the performance review is a 2-way conversation. It's not you talking only to your employee. Your employee needs to respond and react to what you have said. They also need to share their own thoughts, their own opinions with you as well. This will help them feel a lot more included in the performance review, and it will help you give them a much fairer evaluation as well. And this leads us nicely to the next stage where you talk about areas for improvement. Based on what you've discussed with your employee about what is working and what is not working, then you can guide them into a conversation about what they need to improve on and also how they can improve on those things. When we're talking about what that employee needs to improve on, it could be technical skills. For example, a program they need to master or learn how to use, tasks they need to become better at doing, or client work they need to learn to improve on as well. Or it could be soft skills. So it could be something related to their communication. They might need to delegate better. They might need to learn how to interact better with their co-workers. Maybe they need to be more punctual when they arrive at work. What you are trying to discuss with them here is skills that they need to develop, things that they need to improve on that will help them do their job better and help you give them a better performance review in the future. But you can't leave them hanging and just finding out what they need to improve on. You, as a manager and leader, also need to guide them and show them how they can improve in those areas. So do they need to enroll in training? Do they need coaching from you or from someone else? Do they need mentoring? Do you recommend that they work closely with a particular member of your team because that person completes those tasks really well or has already developed those skills? Think about how you can get that employee to develop those skills. This is your job as a manager or a leader. You are there to guide them, to support them, to nurture each employee in your team. And the areas that they need to improve on, and also how they're going to improve on those areas, this should be one of your actionable items that you discuss at the end of your performance review. The next thing you discuss is that person's career plans. You as a manager or leader, you need to know what that person's career plans are for the next 6 months, for the next year, or even for the next 2 years, because part of your job as a manager and a leader is to help them get there, to help develop them into being the professional that they want to be. I recommend you review their career plans that they talked about in the last performance review you conducted with them. Ask them how close they are to achieving those career plans. What have they done to try to achieve those plans, or at least work towards them? What do they need to do in the future? And if they haven't achieved certain career plans that they plan to achieve by this performance review, ask them what they think went wrong. Why didn't they achieve those career plans? You need to have a clear and an open discussion with your employee about their career plans, because this also becomes one of the actionable items or items that you will discuss in the next performance review. And at the end of the performance review, you should have a list of targets, of goals, of actionable items that you require of your employee. You should have a list of things that you are required to perform as well. So if you need to organize training for that particular employee so they can build skills in a specific area, this is one of your actionable items as well. This needs to be clear between you and your employee before you end the meeting. Both of you need to walk out of the meeting having a clear idea of what you need to do, what the next steps are. And once you've conducted the performance review, your work doesn't stop there. You need to follow up after the performance review. And this includes 2 things. You need to write a summary of the performance review, and you need to send it to that employee. Your summary should include key points discussed, issues raised, actionable items, and objectives agreed to. The summary only needs to be 1 page, so use bullet points as much as you can. And when you send it to the employee, which is the second step that you need to do, you need to use a warm and a personalized message in your email when you send them the summary. Because at the end of the day, your employees are people, and you need to treat them as though they are people, with respect, with warmth, and with support. This is the job of a manager or a leader, and you need to keep this in mind next time you conduct your performance review. We have covered a lot in this video. If you have any questions about what we've discussed, leave them in the comments below. I will definitely answer them. And if you want to know what questions you should ask during a performance review, then I do have another video that will help you out. It is tailored for employees in that it helps them understand how to answer performance review questions that they could be asked by a manager or a leader. But by working through that video and identifying the questions that the employee could prepare for, it will give you an idea of what questions you can ask during the performance review. So that video is in the description below. You'll also find it on the screen here. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please hit the like button below this video and subscribe to my channel. Every week I release videos on leadership to help you on your leadership journey, and I'd love to share those videos with you too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.